Come to the word of the Lord now. I'm just changing the order. I've got it a bit confused. Before we sing what can wash away my sin, we'll do that before the communion. So would you open your Bibles to the book of Proverbs? It's just after Psalms. We're going to Proverbs chapter 8. Now, last year, Henry, our pastor, suggested that we should read Proverbs daily as part of our quiet time. I hope you've been doing that. I started doing it, and I came across something quite interesting, which I'm basing the sermon on today. Proverbs speaks a lot about wisdom. I've never met anyone who doesn't need wisdom, but I've met a lot of people who think they don't need it. It talks about what wisdom is, where to get it, and the contrast with folly. If you look at chapter 9, wisdom and folly are personified. They're anthropomorphized as two women. One of them, a capable, bold woman, building a house, offering help to those who need wisdom. You can imagine her as well-dressed, well-groomed, capable, one of these people you automatically trust. Folly, on the other hand, is one of those noisy, badly dressed women, with too much makeup. And her hair obviously isn't the color that it is. It comes out of a bottle, speaks loudly, probably hits the bottle as well. Crass, vulgar, and giving senseless and dangerous advice. And wisdom, so we can see from that, involves morality. It's not just being clever. It's not just knowing what to do in a situation, because a situation, anything you find yourself in, involves morality. It involves ethics. It involves also a standard that's beyond ourselves, because whenever we come to something, our first impulse is to do what's best for me, right? The first thing is protect me. What happens? You're in the car park and you reverse and you hear a crunch. There's no one else around. What do? You disappear quickly. Or do you get out and put your phone number under the guy's windscreen? I did that once, and I know Margie, my wife, did that once. The person wasn't around, so we just left our numbers. And both times, those people were amazed that someone had dented their car and actually left a note to say who they were and exchange insurance details and so on, which means that most people don't do that. So any situation you find yourself in almost inevitably involves morality. And wisdom involves morality. It goes beyond ourselves. Very often we see men or women will do what they think is right. It makes sense to do some things, and yet it has an outcome or consequences they didn't expect, because their cleverness or their shrewdness or their understanding wasn't actually wisdom. And so there's a huge gulf sometimes between being clever or being intelligent, being smart, and being wise. Clever, intelligent, smart people can be very evil sometimes. They can do the wrong thing. They can do things that have terrible consequences. But it seemed right to them at the time. But now we're going to go back to chapter 8, because that's where I'm preaching from. That was just the introduction. I want to read the whole of chapter 8. It's quite a long one, but I'll try not to take up everyone's too much time, because we are having communion. I see the clock at the back isn't actually working, so I'll just keep an eye on things here. Does not wisdom call? Does not understanding raise her voice? On the heights beside the way, at the crossroads, she takes her stand. Beside the gates, in front of the town, at the entrance of the portals, she cries aloud. To you, O men, I call, and my cry is to the children of man. O simple ones, learn prudence. O fools, learn sense. Hear, for I will speak noble things, and from my lips will come what is right. For my mouth will utter truth. Wickedness is an abomination to my lips. All the words of my mouth are righteous. There is nothing twisted or crooked in them. They are all straight to him who understands, and right to those who find knowledge. Take my instruction instead of silver, and knowledge rather than choice gold. For wisdom is better than jewels, and all that you may desire cannot compare with her. I, wisdom, dwell with prudence, and I find knowledge and discretion. The fear of the Lord is hatred of evil. Pride and arrogance and the way of evil and perverted speech I hate. I have counsel and sound wisdom. I have insight. I have strength. By me kings reign and rulers decree what is just. By me princes rule and nobles, all who govern justly. I love those who love me, and those who seek me diligently find me. Riches and honor are with me, enduring wealth and righteousness. My fruit is better than gold, even fine gold, and my yield than choice silver. I walk in the way of righteousness, in the paths of justice, granting an inheritance to those who love me and filling their treasuries. The Lord possessed me at the beginning of his work, the first of his acts of old. Ages ago I was set up, at the first, before the beginning of the earth. When there were no depths, I was brought forth. When there were no springs abounding with water, before the mountains had been shaped, before the hills I was brought forth, before he had made the earth with its fields, or the first of the dust of the world. When he established the heavens, I was there. When he drew a circle on the face of the deep, and when he made firm the skies above, when he established the fountains of the deep, when he assigned the sea its limits so that the waters might not transgress his command, when he marked out the foundations of the earth, then I was beside him like a master workman. And I was daily his delight, rejoicing before him always, rejoicing in his inhabited world and delighting in the children of men. And now, O sons, listen to me. Blessed are those who keep my ways. Hear instruction and be wise, and do not neglect it. Blessed is the one who listens to me, watching daily at my gates, waiting beside my doors. For whoever finds me finds life and obtains favor from the Lord. But he who fails to find me injures himself, and all who hate me love death. Well, everyone needs wisdom. And they need it all the time. Years ago, I had a friend at Tech. She was studying public relations. Every company has a public relations department to, I think, do all their publicity, make sure people are happy with them. But she sat in these lectures, and as the lecturer taught and she read the textbook, she kept thinking, I've seen this before somewhere. Seen this before somewhere. This is familiar. And eventually it dawned on her. A lot of the principles she was being taught about handling customers and the public and promoting the company and giving it a good image came straight out of the book of Proverbs. I don't think they actually acknowledged it, but that's where it was coming from, or seemed to be. For instance, Proverbs 15 verse 1. A soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. If you have an angry customer, it doesn't help to answer back or get angry in return. It just makes them more aggravated. But if you mollify them and apologize for inconvenience, doesn't matter what you feel inside. You have to say, I'm sorry about this. How can I help you? I'll make sure you get the item replaced. Something like that. Just so that the customer comes back. I was once in the electrical shop in Harfield, getting something, and this guy came in, he was repairing something, and he He said he needed some item, and the guy said, well, we don't have that, but we've got this. And he threw a fit, and I won't use the words he said, but what he really said is, now my whole job is ruined. But he said it in words that I won't repeat. And their manager became very angry with him and said, get out, get out. And suddenly he backed down. Sorry, Meneer, sorry. And they put it together. It doesn't help to get angry all the time. And wisdom's not just about handling anger. I think most of us have had kids at one stage. And children are a completely different breed. Have you noticed that? I'm sorry, I used to wonder, no offense meant, but you look at some kids and you think, is this really human? Doesn't behave like a human, but of course that's what kids are like. They're still learning. And you need wisdom to handle them. And we often used to pray for wisdom. What do we do here? And some advice we were given is, you pick which battles to fight. If he wants to wear the Mickey Mouse shirt 3 days in a row, it's not going to kill you. Let him wear the Mickey Mouse shirt 3 days in a row. But there's other things you say. For instance, you will eat your vegetables, and that's worth fighting about. And there's a lot of writers offering advice. When Ollie was born, the church we were in, there's a lot of young people having children. And there were 2 books circulating, and the one said, you have to get these children into a routine right away. Feeding at the same time every day. They have to fit into a routine. The other book that was circulating said, you should just let the children feed when they want, get up when they want. They've got plenty of time later in life to learn routines. So there's these 2 arguments going, both Christian writers, I might add, with 2 different views, and you had to pick, and then the other party would say, but you're doing it wrong because the book says this. So there's a lot of advice out there for raising children. The advice isn't always wisdom. It might be clever, it might even make sense, but it's not always wisdom. There's a man called Benjamin Spock. He was a doctor, a pediatrician, and he had a lot to say about child rearing. His advice incorporated Freudian psychology, which is about as far from wisdom as you can get. And his advice was pretty much, don't be tough on your children, be their friend. Don't force them to do things. Don't come down hard on them, which was strange because apparently he did the complete opposite with his children. And people believed this, and the book sold millions, and a whole generation started growing up in America without any discipline. We're living with it today. And the funny thing is, each time a new edition came out, he changed some of the things that he'd said before. I was wrong about that, do it this way now. And then the 3rd edition came out, I was wrong about this, do it this way. Well, that's not wisdom. The wisdom of the Bible doesn't change. And yet the Bible and Proverbs gives a lot of wisdom about raising children. 4,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, and it's still valid today. We didn't need a new edition to correct the last one. It also gives wisdom to rulers and governors, it says, that princes should rule by wisdom. It says, by me, kings reign, and rulers decree what is just. By me, princes rule, and nobles, all who govern justly. I was thinking, perhaps we should require everyone who runs for political office to attend a course in understanding wisdom from Proverbs. Probably wouldn't be popular. But look around the world today. How many world leaders actually have wisdom? It's very thin on the ground. They're not wise. They tend to take bad advice and then double down on it and keep on doing the bad things. It would be nice if a prospective politician had to prove they had wisdom instead of just the ability to talk nicely, to persuade the voters. And so wisdom is available. If you look at verses 1 to 5, it says, does not wisdom call? Does not understanding raise her voice on the heights beside the way? That is, overlooking the highway. It's as if she's calling out. Beside the gates in front of the town, at the entrance of the portal, she cries aloud. Simple ones learn prudence, fools learn sense. From my lips will come what is right, for my mouth will utter truth. It's very significant what that means. In the ancient world, in Israel, your business transactions took place at the gates of the city. That's why when we read the book of Ruth, when Boaz was going to buy the field and take on Ruth as his wife, he met with the elders at the gate of the city, handed over his sandals so that the transaction was solidified. The judges and elders of the city used to meet at the gates of the city. It wasn't just a door like this, it was an entire fortification with rooms built into it. And they'd meet there. That was the court. That's where they'd decide disputes and hear litigation. What it's saying is, in business, in justice, in your family affairs, get wisdom. It's available for you. It's right there. Simple people, those who are naive and lack understanding, and you find people like that, they don't seem to be really part of the world. They don't understand what's going on. They don't have that sharpness. Sometimes I think they're fortunate. But even they can get wisdom. It's here. It's written down for them. How to behave, how to handle matters. Even fools, those who are immoral, and that's what the word means here. The crooks, the shysters, the con artists, even they can get wisdom, which might keep them out of trouble. It's available to everyone who wants it. It's free. In his letter, James says to us, if any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given to him. And many times we've prayed for wisdom. Lord, we don't know what to do in this situation. Please give us wisdom to handle it. If you need it, and you do, ask for it. Open your mouth. Speak to God. He's longing for you to just say, Lord, I need wisdom. You'll get wisdom. You can get wisdom regardless of your class, your background, how smart you are, how naive you are, how educated you are. You can ask for wisdom in any situation. It's freely available. But now look at verse 32. Now, O sons, listen to me. Blessed are those who keep my ways. Hear instruction and be wise, and do not neglect it. Blessed is the one who listens to me, watching daily at my gates, waiting beside my doors. For whoever finds me finds life and obtains favor from the Lord. But he who fails to find me injures himself. All who hate me love death. Catch that one. If you hate wisdom, you're suicidal. You see here, wisdom's an ongoing thing. We know about ongoing things. You take a breath, well, that's not it for the rest of the day. Keep on breathing. You need oxygen. You don't finish a journey with one step. So it's a continuous, ongoing process. And that's why wisdom is closely allied to holiness. That's why it stands against foolishness, which is immorality. That's why there's an ethical, moral quality to wisdom. You have to keep on seeking it. Now imagine you're facing a problem, and we all are. But it's to do with your marriage or children or work. And you seek out the wisdom of God, and you keep on seeking it till the problem is solved. It might take a long time, until your boss is transferred, or your husband stops drinking, or your child stops being profligate and actually submits to you and returns home like the prodigal son. But it would be foolish to face another problem and not seek wisdom. Wisdom is like vitamins. It's not a once-off vaccination. You don't say, okay, I need wisdom. And you get wisdom for the situation, and that's it for the rest of your life. No. All the time, seek wisdom. A lifestyle. It should be daily. Because we acknowledge we're sinful. We acknowledge our understanding is imperfect. So we need wisdom. We acknowledge that we can't trust ourselves in all our lives. That's what we do when we come to the table. Lord, I'm ignorant of you. I don't have understanding. I keep going my own way. I need wisdom. So what should we do? But seek wisdom all the time. This brings us back to what Henry and the eldership have been saying. Every member should be in a Bible study. Yes, you can read it on your own, but iron sharpens iron. What happens when you come to a verse and you don't know what it means? You need help. You should be in a Bible study and also praying for each other in the Bible study. You should be at prayer meetings. We have prayer meetings before every service, or we will have now that services have started. Be there. If you want wisdom and direction, it's not something to seek alone always. It's always something to seek with others. That's why we need to support each other in prayer, and why we need to pay more careful attention to preaching and prayer and Bible study. Well, where does wisdom come from? Where do we get wisdom? Secular theories of the universe say, literally, there is no wisdom. Everything happened by chance. Random chance. Friends, if the universe and this earth and the planets and all the intricate things of it happened by chance, there is no wisdom. You might as well flip a coin to make decisions. Should I report to the person whose car I dented, or should I just go? Flip the coin. No, heads it is. Here I go. Should I give in to my child when he whines or she whines in the queue at the supermarket because all the chocolates are there? Toss a coin. Yes, you can have chocolates. How ridiculous. If everything happened by chance, then everything continues to happen by chance, and there's no need for wisdom. Whatever decision you make will make no difference to the outcome. It will make no sense. But actually, in fact, we know there is wisdom. There is understanding. There is a difference between right and wrong, and there is a way to find a sensible decision, and that is wisdom. So where does it come from? How is it possible for human beings to even say, I'm inadequate, I need wisdom? Well, let's look at verses 22 to 31. Revelation time. The Lord possessed me at the beginning of his work, the first of his acts of old. Ages ago I was set up at the first, before the beginning of the earth. When there were no depths, I was brought forth. When there were no springs abounding with water. Before the mountains had been shaped, before the hills I was brought forth. Before he had made the earth with its fields, or the first of the dust of the world. When he established the heavens, I was there. When he drew a circle on the face of the deep, when he made firm the skies above, when he established the fountains of the deep, when he assigned the sea to its limits so the waters might not transgress his command, when he marked out the foundation of the earth, then I was beside him like a master workman, and I was daily his delight. While this is a personification of wisdom, like the woman in chapter 9, it also shows us something else. Wisdom is a property of God. Now, if the secular theorists are right and everything happened by chance, you just arose from the goo in a pond or something like that, then there's no wisdom. But it's a property of God, and therefore it's a part of creation. It's as if God, when he wanted to create, first created wisdom. You can, if you like, you can still use the personification of a wise woman. First created that before he even said, let there be light. It's not to say that it's the fourth person of the Trinity, but it's a quality of God. God is wise. God is all wise. Everything about God is wise, and so any wisdom comes from him. It's his own idea, it's his tool, it's his means of ruling. He rules by wisdom. He governs the earth by wisdom. Now, if wisdom could be made material, if we could somehow condense it into something solid and cast it in an ingot, if such a thing was possible, it would bear a stamp, made by Christ. The Apostle John tells us that without Christ was not anything made that was made. So he has it, he owns it, he dispenses it as he will. I think God deliberately keeps some people foolish. Think about it. He deliberately makes some people foolish so that things work out for his own goodness. But if you see wisdom anywhere, in any act or life or in any person, in what they do, you know for a fact it comes from God. Folly is a man going his own way, using his own intelligence, such as it may be. But wisdom comes from God. When you see foolishness and absurdity and meaningless stupidity and cruelty, you can be sure that that person, no matter who they do not know Christ and they reject Christ. Well, then we can sum up. Wisdom comes from God alone. Now, common grace may allow wisdom in any person. In a pagan, can have some wisdom because he's a creation of God and therefore has part of the image of God. But when it is sought, someone seeks wisdom, it comes from God alone. There's only one source for wisdom. It's also something that therefore should be sought after. And it's available. It's not hidden. I want to finish off with the words of Paul in 1 Corinthians chapter 1. He says this, speaking to the common people of the church. Consider your calling, brothers. Not many of you were wise according to worldly standards. Not many were powerful, not many were of noble birth. But God chose what is foolish in the world to shame the wise. God chose what is weak in the world to shame the strong. God chose what is low and despised in the world, even things that are not, to bring to nothing things that are, so that no human being might boast in the presence of God. And because of him, you are in Jesus Christ, who became to us wisdom from God, righteousness and sanctification and redemption, so that, as it is written, let the one who boasts boast in the Lord. Now we're going to turn to another aspect of God's wisdom. How foolish to expect that a Jewish preacher being crucified by Romans could do anything in the world. Yet 2,000 years later, here we are, and there's other churches, and we celebrate that death. The wisdom of God was to send a man, who was God also, to take the place of each one of us, to fulfill the justice of God. Who would have thought that? There's that one hymn that we sing with a line in it, and I think it would be brilliant as a t-shirt or a banner or something. Who would have thought that a lamb could rescue the souls of men? Yet it happened by the wisdom of God.